topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning, Texas. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show, where for the last 16 years, we have brought you the finest experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Hey, today's show is dear to my heart because not only am I on Medicare, but I am on Medicare Advantage. And we have got the greatest agent in Texas with the Belvin Insurance Agency Group, Jill Belvin. Good morning, Jill.
Good morning, Steve. How are you today?
We're doing well. Hey, Jill, I just want to tell everybody, since I've been through this before, how important it is to have a good agent. I had a bad agent when I started off, but you don't know what's good and what's bad. But you represent multiple companies, and that's the
17 different companies, yes.
That many?
Yes,
well,
and
the agent I had gave me one plan to choose from, and I thought that's what I had to go with.
No.
There is so much work that you as an agent do for your clients to get them the right policies to choose from.
Absolutely. Yes, definitely. And I can tell you a funny story if you'd like about a friend of mine that I helped this last week. This is pretty hilarious. I've known her for years and she's going on Medicare, and I've been working with her now for probably 3 or 4 months, going through all of her options, Medicare Advantage, Medicare supplements, pricing, prescription drug plan, pricing on prescriptions. Well, she finally came down to making a decision, and it was really funny because she was on a website looking at plans, and she said, "Oh, so Jill, now that I've made this decision, should I go in here and sign up?" And I said, "Janie, only if you don't want anyone to help you in the future." I said, "I will be your agent and help you sign up. That's what I'm here for, because it's not a one and done thing. You need to review your plan each and every year to make sure that it's still up to date and suiting your needs from year to year, and that there have been no changes." Just, "Oh, I get it. Okay." It was an interesting story.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think people realize even some of these big companies are pulling out of some of the counties.
Yeah. And sometimes a corporation may offer their own, larger corporations may offer their own Medicare plans as well. But it still is good to take a look at your options, even if your company is offering you a Medicare plan. Some of the larger corporations do that. And even, in our area, teacher retirement also offers their own plans. But it is great to see what your other options are, even though your company may offer you something in that realm.
Exactly. There's so many different plans out there. People are confused, and we just got a text in. Someone wanting to know this. They're in Sugar Land, and they want to know, first of all, thank you for offering a show like this. What is the difference between a regular Medicare plan and the Medicare Advantage?
So your basis for Medicare, or your foundation for Medicare, is your hospital Part A and your doctor coverage Part B. That's your foundation for Medicare. If you only had the foundation with no supplemental, there are a lot of out-of-pocket expenses associated with that. For instance, traditional or foundation of Medicare only covers 80% of major medical. So you're left holding the bag for 20% of that. And then, in addition to that, there are co-insurances and deductibles to meet. So there are really two ways that you can supplement your foundation or your traditional Medicare. One of those ways is Medicare Advantage. The other way you can supplement is with what's called a Medigap plan, which allows your traditional or your foundation of Medicare to still remain primary. And the Medigap is simply designed to pay the additional 20% of the major medical. So there are really, two ways you can do the supplement. But the difference is between your foundation Medicare is it has a lot of out-of-pocket costs, co-insurances. You're responsible for that 20%. So it's great. That's why most people will supplement it one of those two ways in order to avoid those high costs out of your own pocket.
Jill, the annual enrollment period is over. What
Mm-hmm.
if somebody chose a plan and now they've decided they're not happy with it? Can they change that, or do they have to wait a year?
Yes, actually, January 1st through March 31st is what's called open enrollment period. It's a little different than annual enrollment in the way, as far as that is only for Medicare Advantage beneficiaries who may have missed the enrollment period in AEP, or they have chosen something and they wish to, readjust that plan during that January through March 31st period of time. So yes, there is an available time through the end of March. So let's say someone would like to, they already know it's just, January, but they already realize that the plan they're on is not, fitting or suitable for their needs. They could actually re-sign in the month of January, start February 1st, or February would start March, or March would start April 1st if you sign up or do an application or enrollment during those months. Starts the month after you enroll. So, but yes, it is open now as well.
This is from Shelley and Dickinson. You
Mhm.
are my mother's agent. She is so happy with you.
Oh,
Um,
that's fantastic.
it's got to be a cousin. It's got to be a cousin of yours. She said, "I'm
Thank you.
wondering."
That's awesome.
This is kind of a political question, Jill, but she
Okay.
said, "I'm wondering why are costs going up when the president said he's made these deals with all these pharmaceutical companies to lower the
Mhm.
rates?"
You're referring to prescription drugs, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay. Well, actually, there have been some major changes over the past couple of years that have lowered costs of prescriptions for clientele or beneficiaries on Medicare. The Inflation Reduction Act implemented a cap on prescription drug costs annually. Um, of course, if if you have generic prescriptions, your cost is typically very low. But for the higher tier prescriptions, they have put a cap. The cap for 2026 is $2,100 annually. So no beneficiary will ever go above the $2,100 cap. They should never go above that. The other thing that the Inflation Reduction Act did was it eliminated what was previously called the donut hole. The donut hole coverage phase on a prescription drug plan was a phase of coverage where the beneficiary or the client paid a astronomical co-insurance on that prescription or copay on that prescription drug that was high tier. could have been thousands and thousands of dollars out of pocket if they had a very high tier prescription. The Inflation Reduction Act eliminated the donut hole coverage phase, which is fantastic for beneficiaries or clients. So there have been good changes in that respect. One other thing I'd like to mention is there has been a prescription payment plan implemented with all prescription drug carriers, whether it's a standalone prescription plan or through your Medicare Advantage plan. If you have very high tier, high cost prescriptions where you are having to maybe meet that 2,100 threshold, you can contact your company and you can sign up for what's called the prescription payment plan. Now, it doesn't reduce the cost of your coinsurances on the prescriptions, but it does allow you to spread the cost out over a period of time. You just need to contact, if you do have high tier prescriptions, you just need to contact your prescription provider and let them know you're interested in enrolling in the prescription payment plan. And it will allow you to pay it out over time. And that does help if you have high tier prescriptions.
Jill, I think I've told you I'm with Humana, and they keep trying to get me to buy my drugs through them. Is it cheaper to go through?
Not necessarily. It really,
I didn't think so.
Yeah, most of the companies, they work with preferred vendors or preferred pharmacies. So they'll have a list of what they consider to be their preferred pharmacies. And typically, as long as you're with a preferred pharmacy to get your prescriptions filled, it really doesn't matter if it's directly with the company's, mail order service or another preferred pharmacy. So, but you do get a choice. You have the choice of what pharmacy you want to use. It is best to stay within their preferred provider network of pharmacies.
What happens? We've gotten a lot of questions that people have sent us.
Go ahead.
About their ID cards, not receiving them yet.
So if you have not received your ID card for a start date of January of 2026, you need to contact your agent. As a matter of fact, you should have contacted your agent before January 1st if you hadn't received it, unless you signed up, at last minute towards the end of but most people have stopped signing up by the December 7th day. So you should have received your ID card for January prior to January the 1st. Now, there are a few companies that are experiencing some overwhelming processing issues. So they have not gotten the ID cards fulfilled yet. But you do need to check with your agent to make sure that you have a policy in place with that carrier that you opted in for the January 1st, 2026 start date. Because there could have been issues with processing the application. There could have been a rejection. You really need to check with your agent and make sure about that. But there have been a few delays.
Here's a great question, Jill.
Okay.
This is from Marcy in Maryland. After listening to 3 of your shows, Jill, I wanted to know, can I change agents? I've had the same agent for 2 years, but you seem more knowledgeable. See, you got to stop doing that, Jill.
Sorry. Actually,
can you change agents?
It is really difficult to change agents. I'm sorry to say that. I would love to have you as a client. It's Marcy, right? Marcy? In
Yes.
Ireland. I'd love to have you as a client, but it is very difficult to change agents. As a matter of fact, most of the companies don't allow that to happen. The only way that you might be able to change agents is, by allowing an agent to do a review of your plan and make sure it's up to date and still meeting your needs. And of course, if it's not, and you need a different plan, or a different plan has a better benefit, then you might be able to enroll with another agent. Now, I would never recommend that you enroll with someone else just because you want to change agents. You need to make sure that it makes sense for you and that it is a great plan for you. So it's very difficult, though, to change your agency.
This is from, God, we're getting a lot of text. This is from Glenda in the Galleria area.
Okay.
She wants to know, what is the difference in the bigger major companies and smaller companies?
So it depends on what type of plan you're referring to. There are, of course, as I said, two different ways to supplement your traditional or foundation of Medicare, Part A and Part B. One of those ways is with Medicare, Medigap, Medicare Supplemental, Medigap. When it comes to Medigap, I would say the difference between the larger, well-known carriers and the maybe a smaller carrier that you don't know the name of would mainly be a few things. It would be the size of the company, the number of folks they insure, and that's about it. Maybe the average rate of change on their pricing, because a Medigap does change prices or adjust their pricing. But Medigap policies or Medicare supplemental type policies like a Medicare Supplement GN, et cetera, they are standardized policies. They are simply designed to pay the extra 20% that Part A and B do not pay. So they're all standardized. They all pay the same way. Now, let's back up. When it comes to Medicare Advantage plans, every single company is completely, not completely different, but can vary substantially in their co-payments, their co-insurances, the benefits they offer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So with a Medicare Advantage plan, it's not necessarily a difference of, well-known names versus not as well-known names. It's more like, what benefits does that plan offer, and what are the co-insurances and the co-payments on that plan? Because those vary substantially. Medicare Advantage do.
Here's a good question. This is from Paul in San Antonio. Wants to know, what is the difference between going directly to the company versus using you as an agent?
There's absolutely no difference in your cost, number one, or the service you receive or the benefits you receive. What the difference is having a liaison between you and the company to take care of you, to vouch for you, to stand up for you in times of that you may need it. If you're trying to, get certain tests done and you're having difficulty, it's good to have someone in your corner. The major thing, though, about having an agent is having someone who can alert you to changes in your plan, a review with you each and every year, and someone who has multiple companies so that they can look at lots of options for you and you're not limited on your options, or maybe you don't understand fully what the options hold. There's a lot of intricate things with Medicare. One thing that I'll tell you is I am not only insurance licensed, but I am AHIP certified. And I also have to certify with every single 17 companies I represent every single year. So I have to be up to date on the benefits they're offering, the co-payments, the co-insurances, any changes in the industry. I have to be up to date on all of those things. It's just helpful to have someone in your corner who is knowledgeable about all of those things and will be standing up for you in times when you need it and helping you out with things. So. But as far as you having extra cost, nothing, there's no extra cost to you to have an expert in the field.
If you go directly to the company, they're only going to talk about what their plan is.
That
Where
is
with
true.
Jill, she can talk about multiple plans. And
That's
that's
right.
important. Trust me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is. Jill, talk
Mhm.
about customer service,
Mhm.
because that was a big problem of mine.
Mhm.
How is your plan for servicing your clients?
I respond to every client within 24 hours if they reach out to me. Usually
Mm.
it's more like 2 to 3 hours, but I tell them it's definitely going to be within 24 hours. But it's usually right away. I always respond immediately. If I know the answer to their question, I will provide it immediately. If I don't, I will let them know the time frame that they can expect to hear back from me. I am very customer service oriented. I've been doing this for 30 plus years. You know, the way that you keep your customers and retain them is by keeping them happy and making sure that they are taken care of. I'm all about that. I drop everything to help a customer. I get involved with, if they're having issues or difficulty getting approval from a company for certain tests, I will call their doctor's office with them and work with them on that. I'll do anything I can to help them. Anything, absolutely anything. I will bend over backwards to make sure that everything's taken care of and that they're happy with their plan. And if not, I will also be very,
What
very happy to review.
Yeah. What seems to be the number one question this year from your clients?
Oh gosh, there's lots of questions. I think one of the biggest questions I've been getting, kind of a little bit of this is kind of interesting, but one of the plans changed their name. I really can't talk specifically, I can't say plan names, but there's a big player out there that changed their name. So it's got everyone very confused. So I keep getting phone calls going, who switched my plan? I was like, your plan is with the same company. They just changed their name. So that's been a big deal this year. Trying to think of anything else major. Oh, the delay on the ID cards, that has been, a big question because there's, like I said earlier, there's been a couple of carriers. I don't know how they got so behind in their, issuance of the new cards, but there's clients even now, and today is the 13th of January, and I still have some clients who haven't received their cards. So
Wow.
that's a big deal. I think one other question or one other thing that comes up a lot is, for instance, there is a IRMAA, it's called IRMA. It's an income related charge, and it's implemented by Social Security and Medicare, and it is based on your income brackets. So there are situations where a client, thought that their prescription plan was maybe going to be a zero premium, because there's a couple of plans out there that have no premium on those, but they end up getting a bill, and they're curious why they're getting a bill when the plan is a zero premium plan. Well, the IRMA impacts folks who are, like I said, in certain income brackets, and it depends on your level of income, and it is put in place by Medicare and Social Security. So people have had questions about, why am I receiving a bill when I am on a prescription plan that has a zero premium? So that's been coming up a lot too.
Jill, tell people how they can reach your office.
You can reach me by calling 832-281-4474. You can reach out to me via email, Jill, JILLLOVES, Medicare at gmail.com. Jill Loves Medicare at Gmail. You could also go to my website, www.insurewithbelvin.com. On the website, there's a lot of information. There's copies or recordings of my podcasts. There's a form you can fill out to reach out to me where I can contact you. We can schedule an appointment. So any of those ways you can reach out to me.
Jill will be back again with us next month. Jill, thank you so much. You are a world of information.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you again next month. Happy New Year to you.
All right. Thank you.
That's Jill Belvin, the Belvin Insurance Agency. Hey, that's going to do it for us today. We'll be back in with you next week with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.